Hi there, it's Karen at Corrie Paper Crafts, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in central Scotland. Welcome back to another Simple Sundays project, and it's this box here. It's a no glue box, so the only thing holding it together is this gorgeous ribbon. The only glue is to attach the DSP. So I challenged myself to, first of all, go back to the annual catalogue rather than stick with the new August to December catalogue, because I feel I've neglected the annual catalogue for the last few projects, but also to challenge myself to use a colour that I've never used before. And this is grey granite, which is a colour I've never used before, so I decided to go ahead and use that. The DSP is from the beautiful Peony Garden Designer Series paper 12x12 pack, and the sentiment here is from the Whale Done stamp set, which is also in the annual catalogue. The ribbon is part of the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack, and again it's a first. I've not used this ribbon before, so I'm going to show you how I made it. It's nice and quick and easy to make. So I'll pop this one over to the side. What you're going to need is a piece of cardstock which measures 10 inches by 8 inches or 25 by 20 centimetres. You're going to need 4 pieces of DSP which measure 3 7/8 inches by 1 7/8 inches, which is 9.8 by 4.8 centimetres, and 2 pieces which measure 1 7/8 by 1 7/8 in inches, or in centimetres 4.8 by 4.8 centimetres. So I'm hoping that in this video I will remember to give you all the measurements in centimetres as well as inches. So I'm going to grab my scoring board and we're going to do some scoring. So on the long side, once I find my scoring tool, we're going to score at 2, 4, 6 and 8 inches. Oh gosh, and not jump the track. That's because I looked away. Let's just push that back out again and not do that again. So that is 5, 10, 15 and 20 centimetres. Then turn it to the short side and score at 2 inches on either side, which is 5 centimetres, and that's all our scoring done. The trick with this box is really in the cutting. So let me pull my chair in a little bit closer and we'll do some folding and burnishing. So I'm hoping in the next few days to film a couple of projects using my nice new Stampin' Up cut and emboss machine, which I've just got this week. It's available to customers from the 1st of September, which isn't far away, but it's available to demonstrators now, so anybody that did want to have it is able to sign up and even add that to your starter kit as part of your kit. So in terms of cutting, what we want to do is remove, we've got 5 squares on either side here with the longer panels in the middle. So what we want to do is remove the 2 corner squares on one side or the other, but we're only going to remove 2. So I'm just going to opt for this side here, and I'm going to remove the score line as I remove the square, like so. So yes, it's really exciting that we've all got our new cut and emboss machine. So I've not used it yet, but I plan to have a play with it this week. Keep these because they're fairly decent sizes and you will be able to use those for another project. So you're left with this, And then all I'm going to do now is just cut up all of these score lines to meet the horizontal score line, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So I'm just going to cut straight up the middle of the score lines. I'm not actually removing the score lines on this particular project because I want the full size of each square, and you'll see why just in a minute. So turn it round, and I'm just going to do exactly the same again, just cutting straight up the score lines to meet that horizontal score line there. And I've actually forgotten to do one tiny little thing, or have I? No, that's the next project I'm filming. It's not this one at all, so just ignore me. We're all good. So there we are, that's what we're left with for the box. Now, not on this end where I've removed the two squares, but on this end I'm going to remove a piece with a circular punch once I've attached my designer series paper. Now my paper isn't directional, so it doesn't really matter which way up I put it, but I'll show you as I go how you need to make sure that if you do have a directional paper, this one was slightly directional, how to make sure that your paper's facing the right way. So I'll start with the two pieces, the two square pieces. So from this end, not the end with the squares missing, but from this end here, you're going to go in two squares, and these are the squares that you're going to add your DSP onto. Okay, so just to recap that, 1, 2 in. Alright, so these are the squares that I'm going to add my designer series paper to. And I'm just going to grab my glue. I'm actually going to have to put these flat because it's trying to stand my box up. So because these are going to be facing down the way like this from what is the top of my box, I want my paper to be going up and down that way, or the pattern on my paper to be going up and down that way if I'm using a directional paper. But a wee tip is just don't use a directional paper. that's my handy tip for today. So I'm just going to add my DSP onto here, and I'm just going to make sure that I get those corners pressed well down, because I don't want that to come up at the corners. So I'm going to turn it round, and I'm going to make sure that I put my DSP on the opposite flap so that I've got it on the right one. There we are. And again, just make sure that's centred in there, and make sure it's pressed down, particularly at the corners. If you want, you can actually come in from behind and give it a good press down that way, and that saves you either marking your paper or moving the paper. Okay, so I'm going to turn it this way. Again, I'm not interested in this part right now, but I want to add pieces of paper to this panel, and this panel, and also to this panel here. Can't say I've cut that particularly straight, but never mind. So this panel is the one that's going to come over here to make the front of my box. So I want to make sure that if I've got a directional paper, it is up and down that way, with the top of the pattern here and the bottom of the pattern here. Come on, glue. So just get glue into those corners first of all. There we are. And stick that down with an even border round about, like so. And again, just making sure that I get those corners stuck down. And the same direction would apply to this part here, because that's actually going to be the top of the box. So when it's facing you, you want the pattern to be correctly up and down the way. So again, this way round for attaching this piece of DSP. I've got a little bit of a splodge of glue there, but once it's dry, anything that you can still see, I'll just remove it with my adhesive eraser. So I'm just making sure that my corners are pressed down. Now, because this is the front and the top of the box, this panel here is the back of the box, so although it might look strange to begin with, I'm going to turn it round as if my pattern was a directional pattern, because this time I want the pattern going up and down the way so that it's in the right direction, but it'll actually look like it's going in the opposite direction to those two pieces. Sounds a bit confusing, but if you just take your time when you're making your own box, you will see what I mean about that. So you just want to make sure that your pattern is always true for going up and down the way. This is going to be the bottom of the box, so I don't need a piece on here, and then this last piece here is going to be the flap underneath the front of the box. So again, I want my paper pattern going up and down the way if it's directional, so I'm going to turn it that way round. Come on, glue, to do that. Just get my glue into the corners like so, and pop that on here, ignoring my very, as it turns out, squint cutting, but it's inside so you're not going to notice it. Give that a press down and just catch those corners to make sure that they're really well stuck. And that's all the gluing that I need to do just to stick my paper on. So this is the piece that I want to cut a little finger notch out of, this one here. So I'm just going to measure, this is 4 inches wide, this panel here. If I just tuck these flaps in, you'll see that. Okay, and I'm going to just make a mark at 2 inches on the very edge of there, just to let me see where I want to cut my hole, my finger notch. And I'm using my 1.5 inch circle punch, and I'm just going to centre that around the mark that I made and cut a finger notch about there. So here comes the magic when we put the box together. So I'm going to curl the box round, making sure that the plain part is on the bottom, and then I'm going to put that bottom flap up first, then the flap from the back, then the flap from the front, and then this one down over the top. And what that gives me is a flush fold here and a flush fold here. So just to show you again, on this end of the box, I'm going to put that flap up, bring the back flap forward, take that front flap backwards, and that flap down. Okay, and that's what forms the box. So it will more or less hold itself together like that until you've got time to get your ribbon sorted out. So as I say, this is the linen look ribbon from the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack, and what I want to do is just make sure I have enough. I've probably got too much there, but I just want to make sure I've got enough to tie a bow. So I'm going to snip it about there, Oops, there we are. My ribbon scissors are actually downstairs. I wouldn't normally use my paper snips to cut ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I am going to bring my ribbon up to the top of my box. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to turn it round and make sure that it's all straight, and then I'm going to twist it, bring it round my box like that. I'm going to just tuck that under here like so, and then I'm not going to tie a knot, I'm just going to go straight into tying my bow. There we are, and just bring that round, pop it through and pull. There we go. It is quite a forgiving ribbon, so it's not too slippy, and once you're happy with your bow, then, excuse the guinea pig having a little cough in the background there. I've always got little helpers when I'm crafting. They always choose to make a noise when I'm crafting. So I'm just going to snip that there and snip that there, and that's my box done. And then all I need to do is just straighten up my ribbon and do a little bit of stamping. So as I said, I used the Whale Done stamp set, and I'm using Your Kind of a Big Deal. It is a photopolymer set, and it is in the annual catalogue. So this is my stamp here, which, as you can see, I've not cleaned from when I stamped it before. And grab a piece of card and my grey granite ink, and then make sure I've got plenty ink and stamp it down about there. There we go. And then again, using my 1.5 inch circle punch. Now it is a tight fit, but it does fit just. I'm just going to make sure that I don't cut off any of my letters, so just make sure that you're happy. So there's a tiny gap at the bottom of the D and at the bottom of the L, and the same with the Y and the A. So punch that out. And then I just did a little bit of stamping, or sponging rather, round the edges, just to take that stark white away, no other reason, and just a little bit round the edges, just to add a little bit of colour. That's all you need. You don't need to do a lot. But if you're anything like me, you'll do exactly what I'm doing now and go back over it again. So I need to stop because I don't want too much ink around the edges. And then I'm going to grab my mini dimensionals, excuse me, and just pop a couple at the very edge on each side of my sentiment. And I'm trying to hold it up to the light just so that I make sure that I do have them at the right bit. And then just opposite on the other side, like so. Take the backings off. There we are. And just position my ribbon first of all, and I'm just centering it on the box, but also using that as a bit of a guide, and then popping my sentiment on either side of the ribbon like that too. There we are, and that's my box made. So quick and easy, but really very pretty, and it's all held together by your lovely ribbon. I like both of those. I don't think there's one that I prefer over the other. I actually like them both. If anything, I think I maybe prefer this one, but they're both really pretty, and I will use these for giving gifts to a friend or a colleague, or maybe even send some goodies to my team, but don't tell them. So thanks for watching. I hope you liked that. I'll put a link to my blog post, which won't be done immediately, but it'll be done within the next few days, so I'll pop that in the description bar underneath. I'll also pop a link to my shop if you like any of the products that you see in my project today and you don't already have a demonstrator and you would like to order them. I will put a link to my shop. Give me a like if you do like my project, because that always helps too. And if you subscribe if you haven't already, and click the little bell icon, then you'll get a notification every time I post a new video, and I've got a couple more coming this week. So thanks for watching. Take care until I see you again. Bye bye.